All right, well, we're going to shift gears to I think, the practical arts.
Dr. Bowley and
Dr.
Mr.
Bowley, you've
Scanlon.
got the floor.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm here this evening with Mr. Andrew Scanlon, our wonderful supervisor of engineering, technology, business, family and consumer science, and computer education. Andy has led this department for the last 8 years. Our students use critical and creative thinking skills to strengthen their problem-solving skills through a variety of course offerings in this department. Studies in many of these courses mirror real life, enabling students to develop both personal and professional skills and prepare them to function effectively in changing family, community, and work environments. The courses in this department provide educational opportunities that respond to human needs, future technologies, and global changes in preparing our students for employment, careers, advanced study, and lifelong learning. And now we will hear more from Mr. Scanlon.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bowley. We're sitting here, I watched the presentation of these wonderful young people, and I used to have a vision for the department, but I really think I may change it to, but it didn't work out. And while that might seem kind of funny, right, guys? But ultimately, what did you do when it didn't work out? Right, you patched up, you tried something else. And I think that's a very, very, very important characteristic in everything that we do, but especially within the practical arts. So the practical arts do contain all of those things that Joyce mentioned. Our vision really is to prepare students for the unknown. Everybody has heard that statistics, whatever percentage of the jobs in 10 years from now didn't exist 5 years ago, all those types of things. So we really have to prepare students for the unknown, and our goals are to put everything that we can real in the students' hands. So we have, actual real computer-aided design programs that you would be using in any sort of field. We have CNC routers, laser cutters, 3D printers. So we have all the latest technology, and we have some great instructors as well that goes along with them. All of our courses are aligned to the New Jersey student learning standards, but it's very interesting. When they updated from the 2004 to the 2009 standards, many of the courses that I supervise, their standards were shifted out of the kind of general standards into the CTE, or the Career and Technical Education standards. So when that happened, it was kind of an opportunity in certain areas that we're able to kind of steal or borrow or use standards from national organizations, from other states, from researching industry and higher education. So that's where we base all of our what the students learn in our courses. All right, so elementary. In the elementary schools, pretty much the practical arts are part of the media curriculum, which you can see some pictures of examples of students working on different things. We still read, obviously, in the libraries. And in fact, at Hammersholt, one of the ones I looked up very quickly, we had 22,479 different, books borrowed last year. So it goes, down to kindergarten and all the way up to the high school, that we still have some very, very, very impressive circulation numbers, and it's something to be proud of. The other side of our media curriculum is the technology side. So for a long time, we had a lab attached to the library that had, and we still do, that have the desktop computers. And we are slowly shifting over to create those spaces into, you can call them maker spaces, innovation labs, engineering labs, those types of things. So we're making a bit of a shift from sort of learning these applications to using these applications to do something. And it's kind of interesting because I do think that as education goes on, that's going to be really what happens. You're never going to replace direct instruction, but ultimately, when we start to blur the lines between subjects, you need to have some sort of project that you can apply all of your ILA skills and your math skills and your science skills and your social studies skills, everything that you can have culminating projects. So I think that those standards are the ones that are really going to help out education. other things we've done in elementary is Hour of Code, which is a great program. I'd like to say our code is great, but what we do is hours of code, because we have coding units K to 5 in the elementary school. You can always check out our curriculum. It's online. We use code.org. Last year it was piloted in certain grade levels, and this year it'll be in all grade levels. And also for our code, we're currently working with some high school students that hopefully we're putting together a group that's going to go down to the elementaries and work with some of our elementary students. Hammersholt, things get a little bit more complicated in Hammersholt. Hammersholt has a very nice middle school themed curriculum where there are 5 cycles in each grade level, so students get an experience in all sorts of different areas, from drama to cooking, and also there's room for 1 elective. And many times students come to Hammersholt and they're in either band, orchestra course. One thing I always say to those students and to those parents is, stick with the music. There's plenty of opportunity for STEM and film and consumer science as you get older, but I still think, you don't want to miss those years of playing an instrument, unless obviously that's what you want to do, if you want to change things up. But what we've done in Hammersholt is we have evolved from having sort of canned workstations called modules, where students would get a variety of different experiences to developing real world projects. And you can see the 2 young ladies in the top right photo there. They're programming an Arduino board, which will then be a controller for what they're ultimately going to be developing is a kind of a Lego type robot that's going to be able to move itself autonomously through a maze. So they're doing some pretty high level stuff at Hammersholt, which is very nice. At Churchill, you can see course offerings in the middle, a whole lot of things going on there. Student schedules are freed up a little bit. They have opportunity to take different courses. All of our courses are, articulated through middle school, Churchill, and the high school. But the one thing that we have noticed, and this is not unique to us, but this is where we do see, and we see it in Hammersholt as well, is a underrepresentation of female students, especially in the engineering and computer science courses. And that is one of my administrative goals, to increase those numbers. So if anybody ever has any suggestions, please let me know. But we've been doing a lot of research and trying to figure out what we can do to help alleviate that problem. High school, all sorts of things going on at the high school. We have over 45 courses that I supervise. And while we did have a bunch of series of courses, this is one place where my staff and I sat down and said, let's look at all these courses. We had a whole lot of introductory courses. Let's start seeing which ones of these fit together. So we started making series of courses. And I'm very, very proud of what we're doing in the high school. I would certainly put it up against any other school in the state, even some colleges, because when we have students from Pace came in and also students from Rutgers came in from their engineering programs, and they were showing our students, what they did is, it was scaled up a little bit, but ultimately it was exactly what we were doing. So that was a nice confirmation. Mr. Simmons, do you have a question?
Yes, what is senior seminar?
What is senior seminar?
Yes.
Senior seminar is a sort of a life skills, but preparing you for college. And in fact, it's funny you say that, because I had a meeting with the school counseling department earlier today, and that is a course that we're looking to, instead of it being a senior seminar, I think what we want to do is change it into more of a junior seminar, because a portion of it is, looking at schools. So obviously by senior year, especially, we would only run it the first quarter or first semester. Some things didn't make sense. So it's sort of it's a bit of a life skills course, but also it is, it deals with careers, what sort of education you need, and then it goes into if you have any sort of, there's roommate issues, those types of things. So that is the senior seminar.
Andy,
Yep.
my eye's just not good, but I noticed in Churchill, there was an introduction to woodworking.
Yes.
Do we have the next step after that in the high school?
No, because Churchill's the only building that we have right now that has an actual wood shop in it. So when we get to the high school, students still can have experiences using hands-on tools and developing and designing things, but that's more of in our engineering program, which is a phenomenal program because we really have two areas of engineering. We have the electronics engineering and we have the mechanical engineering. And luckily we teach in a room that's large enough that we have both courses operating on the same time, the same course, the same room, same period. So after they've kind of learned their individual skills, they work together on collaborative projects. And in fact, that one of the kind of neat ones is, oh, where is it? I don't know why it's not there. It must be behind one of the other pictures. But for example, one of the designs that they worked on, and this was the level 1 course, is the electronics engineering students developed the circuitry for a solar cell phone charger, and the mechanical side then designed a case, drew it in their computer-aided drafting or design program and printed it out on the 3D printer.
I'm like your biggest fan. I think
Thank
this
you.
is wonderful. And the engineering courses sound fantastic. I do think that there's a value in us continuing to have a course like woodworking at the high school.
I'm actually surprised we don't.
We don't have a space in the high school.
We
Would be
don't have-
appropriate.
Yeah, we don't have a wood shop in high school, it's a
No,
surprise.
yeah.
We have a metal shop, we have a metal shop in high school?
When we stopped, they got taken over by,
Technology, probably.
or I think in the
Yeah, late
the fine
90s
arts.
late 90s when we did some renovations on the high school, the auto shop and the wood shop, there was some sort of regulations in place, and the percentage per square foot that the state was going to fund somehow changed, and it was a real push to put computer labs in, from what I understand.
Maybe you could, in your spare time, explore how to bring back something like, doesn't even have to be the traditional workshop woodwork space, but those skills, I think, are important, and a lot of kids are going to gravitate towards it. So maybe it's something we could think about.
Again, I thought we were doing that already, so yeah, that would be a good idea. If we can find
We've
the
looked
space.
at some STEM offerings, some STEAM offerings
I was going to say, we
that
need to start
have
calling it STEAM.
a woodworking component to
Yeah.
it, but it's on a much smaller scale than you would see in the wood shop at Churchill.
We have to figure that out.
And when you just said STEAM instead of STEM, so I'm real big on that. And I think that one of the beauties of the curriculum you've developed, particularly at the high school, is it integrates so well with so many areas of the curriculum. I mean, we were just talking at the curriculum committee about a music tech course. Okay, so acknowledging the place technology has in our world, acknowledging what an important tool it is, but all the other skill sets that the kids need to bring to it, and how it intersects with almost anything else they're going to do. So, and you've done a wonderful job integrating it throughout the curriculum, where it is not the end, it's the tool to obtain something, a very useful tool and a wonderful tool, but never forgetting that the human beings behind those tools, their minds need to be fed. So,
Thank you, and I agree. I really think, like Ms. Atkins says, we sometimes work in silos too much.
Right.
And I do feel that, a STEM sort of curriculum or project or whatever you want to call it really will start to blur those lines, where you have to apply all those skills that you learned in order to accomplish something. But it didn't work out is not a bad thing, right? It means that we're continuing to persevere and continue to apply the different skills that we've learned from wherever to accomplish our goals. And I think that's a huge thing. And I really do think, who knows how far down the line, but the idea of 8 periods of day, even if it's block scheduling or whatever you want to call it, is going to start to fade away, because that's it's just a little bit different.
Anyone else?
I have one more slide.
All right.
So one more thing, and just, a few of the clubs that I supervise, both the FBLA and FCCLA are doing well. The FBLA qualified, I believe, the last 3 or 4 years
And those stand for what?
Future Business Leaders America,
Okay.
and FCCLA is the Family Career.
We got it.
It's our that's the home ec club,
got it.
which is
Yeah.
it's amazing. They just came back last week and had numerous gold and silver medals, so they're doing a nice job. Girls Who Code is at Churchill, and that is one of our ways of hopefully changing this imbalance of males to females in computer science. A code club.
Watch
One-
Mrs. Reese light up when you talk about coding. So.
What's
And-
the difference between code and coding club?
Right. So the Code Club that's really our high school. It's an interscholastic competitive club, which is kind of neat too, because whenever you go to any of these computer science competitions, they're always sponsored by usually a university and a few businesses, and ultimately what they're doing is they're recruiting. We've had students offered certain things. A few years ago when we first started, when MySpace was still around, I believe one of our students was actually offered a job to go work at MySpace from their accomplishments in the competition. So impressive group of kids. So then we have the Coding Club, which is thank you so much for, because I believe that's the latest club at the elementaries, and that is started last year, and the kids are really enjoying it, and the teachers and staff as well. And then the Video Newspapers Club is in all the buildings, and at the high school, if you're ever in the building, second period, tune in, because it's very, very interesting who our advisors get out to be the talent on TV. Some people that you think might just be stuck in their shell really have come out, and it's a really nice program. So that, in a nutshell, is what I do.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Scanlon.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. And I really would like to thank the board for all the support over the years, because everything in here, every single one of those pictures, everything that our students do would not be possible without you and without your support. So it is much appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.